I'm in conversation with world-renowned fashion photographer, Mariano Vivanco. Mariano, welcome.
Hey, Devon, how are you? Thank you for
I'm
having me.
good, really well, thanks. I want to ask you, what does fashion mean to you right now?
Well, first of all, fashion for me is something very personal and it comes from deep inside my heart. And fashion is a communication of my feelings together with pop culture. What fashion means to me right now is understanding pop culture, processing it through my life's experiences, and developing it with the work I do.
Pop culture, yes, there's that fusion with pop culture and fashion that's kind of always been there, and it's so evident. You're right. So your parents are Peruvian.
Yes.
How much of that Peruvian culture inspired you, or did you kind of grow up with?
It's hard to say because I left Peru last time when I was 10 years old.
Right.
And prior to that, we'd lived in LA. And after that, we lived in Utah. And after that, I grew up in New Zealand from the age of 12. And then moving,
very cosmopolitan, very global upbringing.
Then living in Australia, back to New Zealand, and then coming here when I was 25. So I honestly say I'm a fusion of every country I've lived in: America, New Zealand, Australia, and Peru.
And I suppose that's a very interesting mix, that you've kind of grown up basically as a mixture of all those kind of different countries. That's, you know, that's amalgamated, that's made to who you are. Your father was a scientist, or is still a scientist, I'm not too sure. So when I think of a scientist, I think of some kind of genius, very disciplined, work ethic. Every day. Discussing ideas, trying new things. Did any of those traits rub off on you, like your father's discipline?
I mean, some people say I'm a hard worker, and my father definitely. Oh, thank you. My father definitely is. I believe my father works 7 days a week from what I observe. He's always in front of his computer or going on trips to the Peruvian highlands. At the moment, he's having a little bit of time off. He's with his grandkids in New Zealand, and it's well deserved. He's 74, and he's never, ever, ever stopped supplying for the family or working. So he deserves some time off now, but he is a very hard worker. That rubbed off on me. Did his mind rub off on me? Maybe. He had artistic traits as well. He could make a fully mobile miniature truck out of wax, beeswax.
Oh my God.
And he would sketch beautifully. So, I mean, maybe that rubbed off on me a little bit.
I think so. I definitely think so. I mean, scientists are innovators, so I can see that. Did you enjoy school? And were you popular? I had no idea what school life was like for you. I don't think you've ever discussed school.
Yeah, I think until I was 12. Hold on, excuse me. ¿Puedes cerrar esa ventana, por favor, por el sonido? I think until I was 12, I wouldn't count because school was very, very hard for me, being English as a second language student, not knowing many people, not fitting in. That was always hard for me. But from the age of 12, I moved to New Zealand, and I knew English by then. So I started developing socially a little bit more than I had in the past. And until I was a loner for third form, but by fourth form, I had a best friend called Andrew Gunn. And were we popular? Yes, we threw parties and we knew a lot of people, and we made our social scene from the school together, and popular, but we had lots of friends.
Sure. Yeah. And I suppose, it's just school years for me were a mixture. I had fun, but at the same time, knowing that I was gay, I felt very isolated, I have to say.
Yeah, I kept it hidden until I was about 16. I mean, not that hidden. Some knew. but I think by the time I was 16, thanks to the movement that was happening in the UK, yeah, through magazines and pop culture, it seemed like, you know, it was a revelation to see a good-looking, fit guy with a shaved head.
Yes, there was an explosion at that time.
The Face, Arena,
yes,
they all helped us come out. You know, Madonna, she helped a great deal.
Oh, yes, you're right. I mean,
Can't take that away from her.
For young gay men, for someone to kind of, you know, look up
amazing, like godsend, because that gave us a self-belief and a reason to be proud of who we were. And I'm really grateful for all the people that in the 80s and early 90s paved the way for gay people to feel normal.
Yes, yes. I said, yes. I mean, they were flag bearers. They really were. They really were flag bearers. When did you first discover fashion photography? Can you describe that moment when you discovered fashion photography? So let me just say, so for me, I kind of discovered fashion through my mother's catalogue. And I liked the dresses. And I knew this was fashion. And my mother had a magazine called Ebony Magazine, and they had Ebony Fashion Fair. So I was around about like 8 or 9.
Okay.
I became fascinated with dresses in magazines. What was there a similar?
Kind of. It happened with pop culture for me first, because from a very young age, my mother was obsessed with Sophia Loren films. So I was a young age and she would be showing me these films and I would be like, wow, that's so cool. She looks so glamorous. That resonated with me. And then when we moved to Utah when I was 10, I discovered MGM and musicals from the 1930s. So I knew all about the movie stars of that time when I was very young. And that's still in my mental Rolodex of images of how I produce things. And I loved all that. And then I moved to New Zealand, growing up as a teenager. By the age of 14, 15, a family friend brought an issue of British Vogue to the house.
Right.
Yeah. And then when I was about 15, and then when I saw Linda Evangelista replicating the Sophia Loren look by Stephen Meisel, I was like, this is it. My heart started racing and I was like, what is this? You know, this is incredible. So I kind of liked Vogue from the age of 15. And then when I turned 16, a friend of mine had a camera, an Olympus OM10, and he was doing a photography course. And I said, can I play with your camera? La, 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 and I couldn't let go of it. So from 16, I married my pop culture fashion love with photography. That's when it all happened.
So it was that marriage of photography, fashion, and Linda Evangelista was that kind of, you know, that lit the fuse, I suppose.
Yeah, that was it.
What did your early photography career, so when you first started in New Zealand, because I know you had a career in New Zealand, what did that early career in New Zealand, what did that teach you?
Well, I didn't have a career. I mean, I was lucky to even try and do photography. My art teacher would not let me do photography because I had not done art. So she was very, for 2 years, I begged to do photography in school and she would say, no, you're not good enough. No, you. But I have learned through life that people that say no to me are actually helping me.
Yes.
She did say at the end of the 2 years, I wore her down because I did photography outside school. I sourced a photography course outside school and I did that on my spare time. And she did say she admired my perseverance and I would always get what I want because I don't take no for an answer. So that was something I carried inside me. And I'm not resentful of her. If anything, I am thankful that she said no.
It's funny actually, because at school I loved art, but I got terrible grades. Like in my final exam, when I was like my O-level exam when you're 16, you know that exam when you pass high school? My art got the lowest grade. It was so bad, it was given ungraded. It didn't even get a grade. But I just love drawing.
That's all that matters. That's all that matters. Grading is whatever. I think the pure joy you have when you do something. My father always said, it doesn't matter if you want to clean the streets, paint houses, or be a photographer, but be the best you can be. And that's something, again, that I've always carried with me, and I hope to pass on to all my friends, my son. Just be the best you can be and be happy with that. And that's it.
Be the best you can
be. That's the reality.
Yes. Right. Do you remember how we met?
Yes, of course. It was a club called DTPM.
Yes.
On a Sunday night.
Yes.
And I was with some friends, and they knew I was a young, struggling photographer in London. I just arrived, and somebody said, "Oh, I'm going to introduce you to Devon at Select." And of course, my ears picked up. You were working as one of the head bookers at the best men's modeling agency in the world. And when I met you, you were very muscular and you had your top off. I was a bit intimidated. You said to me, "I work at Select and we represent the best models in the world. Who are you?" And you were very lovely. You said, "Come into the office," and you took care of me. You gave me models to test. And subsequently, I met Tandy, the owner of Select, who said exactly the same thing that you said. "I am Tandy. We represent the best male models in the world."
Yes.
And that's what drew me to talk to her. And, you know, I have few angels in my career, and she's definitely one of them.
Because I'm going to touch on Tandy. I'm actually going to reverse the order in my head of these questions, because you mentioned Tandy, and it makes sense to talk about Tandy.
Yes,
so Tandy is the owner of Select Model Management.
Yeah.
And what part did she play in your development as a photographer? Because I just want to say, like, in terms of my career and kind of like the kind of career path that I've chosen to go along, she was a huge inspiration.
Yes.
I've never, in terms of passion and belief and just knowing the business inside out, I don't think there's anybody like her. And she can know when a picture, just from the look in her eye, how someone's holding their hand, that picture's off. And she just has this instinctive belief, this instinctive way of picking and knowing what's going to work and what will work.
Yeah, I mean, I was lucky. I remember distinctly, I was very broke. I had next to no money, and I swallowed my pride and my, you know, everything I had to go into the office one more time and hope you guys would give me good models. It was actually in the women's division. They weren't as friendly as the men's division. And I remember a booker there, I picked a few cards and said, "Can I photograph these people?" And he grabbed the cards and he threw them on the ground and he said, "No, you can't." And again, I swallowed my pride. I was about to leave. And then I saw Tandy, and I didn't know who she was, but her energy drew me to her like a magnet.
Wow.
And she also must have been scoping me, because she did this. She walked to the end of the female board right in front of me and said, "I am Tandy, the owner of the men's division. We are the best in the world." She went on, and she was kind of aiming that speech at me, I felt. And I fell for it. And I said, "Hello, I'm Mariano. I'm a photographer. I'd like to show you my book." And I remember she flicked through my book really quick, grabbed my hand and pulled me over to you in the men's division and said, "Guys, this is Mariano. He's a new photographer. We're going to help him. He's going to do all our models, photograph all our models, and we're going to pay him." And if it hadn't been for that particular moment, I could have been back in New Zealand doing catalogs.
Just hearing you describe that meeting just brought flashbacks, Mariana. It really did.
Yeah,
it really did. And as I said, Tandy knew from the minute she saw you, she saw something in you, I guarantee you. So I want to ask you, how special was 95 Chapel Market? Was it 95A? How special was 95 Chapel Market or 95A?
I mean, you know, I've said in an interview before that London peeled me like an onion. You know, what people don't know is that by the age of 24, I had a very successful commercial career in New Zealand. I worked 7 days a week when I was there, you know, and it allowed me to save my money to come live in London, which is what I did. And I literally had to start my career right bang, scratch from start. And I did that. I lived in a small shoebox apartment, And I was like, how am I going to nut this out? How am I going to break into the industry here?
Yes.
And it turned out all I could do was take photos in a corner of a room with natural daylight and figure it out. Those were my only resources. But I used them the best I could. And then I learned, what did I love? I learned to work with natural light in a different way. And I also learned that making a cup of tea for my subjects, talking to them for 15, 20 minutes before, which is what I did anyway, but it had a different twist in London. It was more real almost. I don't know.
It was real. It was more real, yes. And I do think your those collection of tests that you put, that was published in the book, 9 to 5 Chapel Market, it just formed the template to me of kind of, you know, that the career that was to follow. I felt it was kind of a real kind of like growing stage for you.
It was.
What's in terms of, and I think those tests later on, I think they contributed to your collaboration with Nicola Fornacetti. And I really want to touch on this Dazed and Confused when you were kind of collaborating, because I think that's when people really took notice of what you were doing. That's what I felt. So for me, those covers, those shoots for Dazed, they represented for me kind of freedom and rebellion for me, because they were like, they were quite edgy, you know what I mean? I think they were experimental, but it was a fusion of many different aspects and it worked. Can you expand on that relationship that you had with Nicola at that time?
So instinctively, I knew that I was very lucky to be working for Select. I was photographing the best models in the world, you know, and you guys were paying me enough to get by, and I was very grateful for that. All I asked from you guys, and you guys did, was put my name on the edge of the card. That's all I asked. So I waited, and then one day I picked up Dazed and I saw the work of a stylist called Nicola Fornacetti, and I didn't know whether it was a man or a woman.
Yes, I didn't know that first either.
And it was our mutual friend, Paul. I can't remember his last name. Paul, he used to work at JN. He gave me Nicola's mobile.
Oh, Paul. Oh, I've got his face, but I can't say the surname, Paul.
He gave me Nicola's number, and I plucked up my courage and I asked Nicola if he would do a meeting with me. And I think by that stage, Nicola had seen my work in the magazines. And he said yes to me the first time we met. We did an editorial.
And he did not say yes to everybody.
No,
he did not say yes to everybody.
I didn't know that, but I was very, very lucky to work with him. I actually just did a post on my Instagram thanking him because it's the 30 years of Dazed and Confused, and they gave me unparalleled support.
Yeah, they were great.
7 years. Very great supporters. Yeah, they literally started my career. Nicola started my career. My editorial career was started by Nicola Fornacetti.
So I'm going to say this name, David Gandy, because I just think he was at such a pivotal moment in your photography career, like near the beginning and all the way through up until now. You've done a phenomenal body of work. I mean, nobody shoots David like you do. I'm going to put that on the record now. Well, it's true. Nobody shoots David like you do.
He's a great model. He's a great guy.
What's this partnership, creative relationship? How did it how did it really come about?
Well, the first time he came to see me was when I was doing the portraits at, in Chapel Market. And I remember thinking he was quite grumpy. I might have called you and told you afterwards, what's up with this guy? He's so grumpy. That hasn't changed. He can still be grumpy. But somewhere along the line, he became less grumpy. And how did it start? I did the portraits at Chapel Market. Then when I was with my ex-partner, Domenico, we were doing tests together, and you guys suggested him because we were doing a Hercules themed photo shoot, and we passed him Hercules.
Yes.
So that was the first time that company Dolce & Gabbana met.
Yes, that's right.
David. Then he also crashed my 30th birthday party 15 years ago. You were there.
I was there. I was there.
Tandy very cleverly invited him at the end for dessert. And he came and he looked, by then he'd honed in his look though. He looked spectacular. And I had no choice but to put him in a catalog the next week. The next available job I had, I put him on because I understood he was perfect for any job. And the rest is history. I put him in that job and that catalog, and the Dolce & Gabbana company
is.
Loved him.
And David Gandy as well. He wanted a great career. He wanted to.
He did, and I respect that.
Yes.
When somebody wants something and works for it,
you have no choice but to help them. David Gandy, and as well, there were naysayers, but Tandy was the pushing force. She did not take a no. She really did, and she was very creative and ingenious in mapping out his career. I have to say, I mean, David will testify. You know, she really did. It wasn't just, you know, job, test, you know, editorial, but it was really creative and ingenious, and it was a career that defied the odds, I have to say, because there were naysayers and he proved everybody wrong, which is brilliant.
And it's a beautiful story. It's always a beautiful story. Yeah, and he deserves every inch of success because he works very hard.
Yes.
He's very professional. He loves his job.
Loves his job.
Yeah.
Totally. Dolce & Gabbana, I know you touched on Domenico, but Dolce & Gabbana have been a loyal client of yours for many, many years. I know Domenico was certainly a mentor. Now I know what did he teach you? Because I know he gave you pearls of wisdom.
Yeah, no, I mean, by far and beyond the wisest person I know, and humble and cool and kind and everything you expect somebody like him to be and more. He's soulful and joyful, and very proud and happy to have, you know, known him and still know him, and he's the best. But it was actually Stefano. Stefano takes care of the visuals more than Domenico. That's not everyone knows that. He does the visuals for the company. Yeah. It was him who really championed me as well. And he taught me something very beautiful. We were choosing photos for a catalog once, and I said, how am I going to choose between one that you can see the outfit better or one that I love more? And he goes, always pick the one that gives you the most emotion.
I agree. See, that's even stirred me. Always pick the one that gives you the most emotion. Yes,
that's always the best one. You know,
always.
And I was very lucky with that. And yeah, they were great mentors. They still are. I mean, we just did our 3rd or 4th fragrance together, and
can't wait to see it.
It's coming out. And then Stefano, in very Stefano fashion, gives me 3 weeks to do the whole job, produce it, conceptualize it, which I'm very grateful for. I'm the director for the TV spots as well. So it's great. We have a great collaboration. I get on the phone with him. He gives me a couple of keywords, maybe a film or two. I watch them. I take notes. I do screenshots. I put my package together. I present it to him. He's fast as lightning. Yes, yes, yes. No, no, no. Yes, yes. And then from that, I put everything together, condense it. And that's how my creative process with that company works.
But I really want to kind of exemplify how rare that relationship is that you have with Dolce & Gabbana, especially from the beginning stages of your career to the present stage of your career. They believed in you and they've watched you grow, and and I said their images have also grown in terms of concepts, in terms of maturity. You've matured, they've matured. I really see that comparison there. how do you create ideas? So, right, I don't know much about this and I should know more, but how do you create ideas for editorials? And how much is that a creative process with the fashion editor? So how much of that is a collaboration with the fashion editor? And how much is it your own ideas for editorials?
Oh, I mean, there's no recipe for it. Things are very organic. It usually begins with me having a coffee with the fashion editor for a magazine, and we speak about what we want to express for a season. And then we both research it separately and then come together again for a different meeting. And then we put our ideas together, and then that's how it goes. Quite often though, when a commission comes in, it's like a light bulb goes off in my head. And I usually know immediately from the first phone call of a commission coming in, or a job coming in that I've been asked to conceptualize, literally a little light goes on in my head and I start downloading ideas of how I can do it. And usually the first instincts are the best ones. So I quickly start a folder on my desktop and I cram all the images that came into my head. And I find them from the internet, I find them from my research folders, and I put them all in. And they're like kind of the ingredients to my recipe later on. That's how I do it.
And so, I mean, I don't know where to begin with your editorials. I just picked two because we'd be here till 10 o'clock tonight talking about stories. So two that really kind of, oh my God, like touched my soul for the sheer beauty, because you have so many concepts. Your work is passion. I mean, your work is inspirational. Your work is sexy, but in terms of just sheer, like, take my breath away beauty. Okay. Vogue Arabia with Sierra, that shoot in the desert. I'm sorry, Mariano, it's perfection. Can you please kind of describe a moment on that shoot?
Yeah,
and
sure.
What you would do? Because seriously, I was like, yeah. Yes.
Well, hats off to Manuel, the editor-in-chief,
definitely,
who's a fabulous image maker, and he's doing so very well. So anytime working with him is a pleasure. That was actually my first Vogue Arabia, and he said, I have this idea. And I think the reference initially was Devon and the elephants, but he wanted to do it with the sheikhs of Arabia's horses. And he had them, and we had Ciara. So we thought, let's put it all together. And yeah, it was pure joy having Ciara with the horses.
What a beauty Ciara is as well.
Gosh, phenomenal, phenomenal. I mean, I've been very lucky. I've literally have worked with the best, and what a beautiful woman, and so much energy and so much beauty. And it was really fast to be able to work with her.
Do you know what's coming to me now? I would love you to shoot Ciara again, but yeah, like, you're just an incredible dancer. Like something like a dance story or something.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. I like that. It's a great idea.
You're just amazing.
I will do it. I will do it.
And another shoot, which was a few years ago, but Mariano, just for the sheer beauty and just Santeria. You did something special. And I know you did something special because there's image after image after image, and every single image. Santeria, I'm so that's a moment. Now that's a fashion moment. That's just timeless. Timeless.
It was shot for models.com, and the great fashion editor Jimmy Uruguay had the idea. He presented it to me, and of course I was like heart beating faster from the first time we met. And I said, we're going to make this happen. And we put our heart and soul into it. And it's very, very, very.
And it's the comparison with the white and the black skin. And it's just so vivid. It's just so beautiful and vivid. Cindy Crawford knew her career had taken off when she appeared on her first French Vogue cover. She said this one of those like 90s supermodels documentaries. Was there a career-defining moment or an assignment for you when you knew like your career had reached that next level where you were like, you know what, wow,
You know, I always say that I'm constantly having little bursts. You know, I would never say my career has reached a peak, or, you know,
That's true.
I try not to think that. But having said that, posting the Dazed collaborations I did from around 2008 onwards to 2012, sorry, 2006 to 2012, they definitely were a step in my career. Dazed and Confused.
Yes.
When Nicola, I'd been working for Dazed for a number of years, but when he put me on that first cover that he had as creative director, I felt it was a special moment in my career for sure.
Yeah. They were talking about you. They were talking about you. So your work with celebrities is truly epic. Are they difficult to shoot? And how different are they to model shoots?
I mean, celebrities usually know their look. Models, you can mold looks on them, where celebrities are like, it has to be a little bit more thought out and approved by them. But that's usually not a problem. And again, I've said this before, every celebrity I've worked with has been A-game professional, kind, easy to shoot because they're so smart. So they know their angles, they know the photo, they get their references. And, you know, I like to shoot quick. I don't want to overdo it. So I don't want to be shooting till midnight. No, I have a son now, so I want to be home soon. So I appreciate succinctness and hard work and quickness and all that. So celebrities are usually very, very, very fast to shoot, and I appreciate that.
So just kind of like to present day, to kind of like reality, and to kind of conclude, how has COVID changed what you do?
It's a great question. It has, because, well, first of all, I can't fly into America, or I will be able to next month, but considering half my work was US based, and then that was cut off overnight, I travel less, but I feel I am more selective about the commissions that come in.
Right.
And I want that to continue. I'm still really busy, but definitely it's taught me less is more, and to be even more true to myself, and even do a better job than I did before, in a way. You know, that's the way it's made me think.
Made you more selective.
That's how it's changed me. Yeah,
for sure. And just to kind of round off, how has fatherhood changed you? Has fatherhood altered your artistic vision? Did it make you kind of go in a different creative way, fatherhood? Did it make you consider different aspects of life?
I mean, first of all, it's been the event of my lifetime. You know, I always said, I've said this before, you know, my career was my baby, but then Henry William was born.
Yeah.
And he's my life now.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, it's like, can't really even put it into words, and I don't think I need to. It's just that. He's love and friendship and stardust all at once, you know. I'm just in awe of him already, and I can't wait to see the man he becomes. But, you know, it's all encompassing. It's a sign of love, and love is also our conversation and our belief.
Yes.
Love is also what we do every day, what we dream. It's all mixed in together, and he's definitely a sign of that, because, you know, he's definitely completed my life.
That's wonderful, Mariano. That's wonderful. And this is a good way to round off our interview. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Forever.
Forever, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Devon. Thank you for the chat.